All right, we are moving out west to the Las Vegas Bowl. We have Utah, a 6.5-point favorite against Northwestern. How about the Wildcats in a bowl game this year? This game carries an over-under of just 41.5 points. Of course, these are two defensive-oriented teams. It kicks off at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC from Allegiant Stadium, so we don't have to deal with any outside weather. Not that Las Vegas brings a lot of that, but hey, it is indoors, climate controlled. Kelly, I'm really interested to hear your numbers in this one because even though Utah has a ton of personnel stuff going on, it's kind of been all season long. For the most part, these teams are what they were the last few weeks of the season. So to start, quarterback Bryson Barnes is in the transfer portal, but he will play this game. That's a good thing because Utah's without Cam Rising, of course. Backup Brandon Rose never came back this year, and Nate Johnson transferred to Vanderbilt. They're all not playing in this game. Other major pieces that have not been in the Utah lineup, Brant Keithy, of course, their top target. Their number one receiver, Micah Pittman, who was suffered a season-ending injury earlier in the year. Jonah Ellis suffered a star defensive end. I think he's going to the NFL, be a pretty high draft pick there. He got hurt for the year in Week 10. Two other defensive starters. I mean, Kelly, this team is a disaster. They are the most hurt team significantly in the entire country. And we briefly talked about Northwestern and David Braun, who deservedly won Big Ten Coach of the Year and got the full-time gig. We talked about them a little bit at the end of the year, but I don't think we're truly appreciating what Northwestern did to even get to a bowl. 3 straight wins to close out the year and secure their 6 wins, 2 of which came on the road against Wisconsin and Illinois. Those are not easy games in the Big Ten West, and Northwestern was able to collect themselves and run the table to secure a bowl game. I think that's amazing. I haven't heard too many people talk about that. I think it's one of the more impressive runs in the country. Northwestern should have all their starters minus 1 starting offensive lineman. Fun fact, they were actually the last team standing that did not have a player in the transfer portal. That, of course, is not the case anymore.
That is a fun fact. And Brett, 6 wins. Nebraska sticks their nose up, Northwestern sticks their nose up at that. They got to 7, man. This team, they were just
did get
cruising.
To 7, you're right. Nope,
cruising at the end of the year. No, they're cruising by the end of the year, as you said. I'm with you. We're not talking enough about Northwestern and what Braun did, and he did get the full-time gig, which he should have here, in my opinion. What a year it was for them. Brett, I was at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis in July, and the news about the hazing allegations, the whole Pat Fitzgerald situation, it had just hit. It was the first and probably only time I will ever see more media members huddled around the Northwestern football head coach than the Ohio State or Michigan football head coach. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment at that time, this poor guy, interim coach David Braun, like, what's he supposed to do in this situation? But I also remember Brett saying on this podcast, as well as others, that this season can go one of 2 ways for Northwestern. They can either crumble under this pressure and chaos and just be a waste for everybody this year and kind of be the doormat of the Big Ten, or they can rally around each other, play for something bigger than themselves, and surprise a lot of people. So I'm going to give myself credit for saying that. I'm also going to be honest with you. I did not expect the latter of those 2 options to be the one that materialized. And even if I did, Brett, I certainly didn't expect this team to go bowling. Just a 14% chance assigned in the preseason for this team to reach 6+ wins. But at 7-5, as we mentioned, the Wildcats won 3 more games than I projected, ranking them number 11 on my overachievers list. Just a phenomenal year, and I am glad Braun won Big Ten Coach of the Year. He certainly deserved it. I get it. Hey, Harbaugh hasn't lost a regular season game in how long? He's won the Big Ten 3 years in a row. Now, he was out for 6 of the games that they played this year, but I could understand you could make a case for other people. David Braun, for what he did, absolutely deserved it and deserved to get the full-time gig as he did. While we can all agree that Northwestern had a great year, few will probably say the same about Utah. But I'm in that camp, Brett. And if you apply the proper context to the Ute season, as you've kind of outlined there, just decimated by injuries at quarterback and elsewhere, I think we can get there. I get it. This program, it was in the Rose Bowl the past 2 seasons. The expectation level in Salt Lake City has been raised. I know. And that's good for Utah and their fans. But star quarterback Cam Rising didn't play a snap this year, and along with all the other injuries you talked about. And this team still finished with 8 wins. Brett, I projected 8.4 wins with Cam Rising in the lineup from day one at full strength across the board, which they clearly were not even close to that level for a large portion of the season, the whole season, because Cam Rising wasn't there. With Kyle Whittingham at the helm, who I believe is a very underrated head coach, we've talked about that on this show before, and Cam Rising behind center, because yes, he is coming back to play yet another year of college football, I firmly believe this program can successfully make the transition to the Big 12 next year. and perhaps be the favorite to win the conference in year one. Like I don't think that's out of the question. Certainly have to see what happens with rosters in the transfer portal going into next season, but I think it's in the cards potentially for Utah to be a favorite there in that conference at full strength, which is really important to note here. But you're right, Brett. These teams are kind of what they've been the second half of the year. My model projects Utah minus 11.5 in this game. So the model suggests, again, blind to all the other factors that are at play here during bowl season, as we've talked about at length before. My model suggests there's some serious value on Utah laying the 6.5 that you mentioned here. We will see. I am very excited. I'm excited about this game. I talked earlier about some of the Duke Troy game and some of these other ones with teams that have really had great years. I'm excited about this game. Two Power 5 programs who have had big time success in recent years and or this year unexpectedly. I also just I'm like a sucker for colors and uniforms, like the red and the purple here. This is going to be a fun game, I think. I'm excited for this one. I'll certainly be watching. But Utah minus 11.5 is what the model makes it.
Yeah, I really, really, really want to back Northwestern, but Kyle Whittingham, man, he's a killer. This team is not going to walk in and put in subpar effort. I don't care who's available or not available. This is going to be an absolute showcase, a clinic of coaches that get the most out of their players. Honestly, if I'm even a Power 5 program and I need to take a shot on somebody to be my head coach, I'm going to North Dakota State and hiring whoever's in charge there if I can. If I can hire them away, that's who I'm getting. They have a proven track record.
Look at the track
All of them
record
that come into the league are ridiculously good from the get-go. I mean, Chris Kleiman didn't miss a step at Kansas State from a legend. They might even be better than they've been under Bill Snyder. So yeah, that's if I'm, if even like a higher level G5 program like Troy when it was opening, and I like the hire they made, but I'm looking North Dakota State to get those guys.
I get it, but totally.
Yeah. Well, with all that said, though, I agree with your numbers, Kelly. I lean Utah minus 6.5, although there is a strong market resistance when it hits 7. There's a reason it touches 7 and then it's gone like that. So people do like Northwestern in this one.